Imagine it's 1978, and a young filmmaker named John Carpenter is about to change horror forever. With just $300,000 and 20 days of shooting, Carpenter brought to life a nightmare that would haunt generations. The story of Michael Myers, who murdered his sister as a child, escapes from a sanitarium 15 years later and returns to his hometown of Haddonfield to terrorize babysitter Laurie Strode and her friends. But how do you create an iconic villain on such a tight budget? Picture this. You're in a costume shop. You pick up a $1.98 Captain Kirk mask and think, this is the face of evil. A little white paint, some tweaks to the eyes, and voila, Michael Myers was born. But be honest, you thought his look was based on Mariah Carey, right? All right, we figured out the look, but what about his name? Carpenter actually named him after a British film distributor who helped with his previous film, Assault on Precinct 13. Talk about an unusual way to say thank you. Carpenter's creativity didn't stop there. Those autumn leaves swirling around Haddonfield, the same ones painted and reused throughout filming. And if you notice some random smoke drifting into frame in certain scenes, that's just Carpenter himself, puffing away on a cigarette off camera. But here's a mystery that's puzzled fans for years. How does Michael, institutionalized since childhood, know how to drive? The novelization offers a creepy explanation. He learned by watching. Makes you wonder what else he picked up in that sanitarium, doesn't it? And here's a fun fact for you. The Michael Myers you see on screen isn't always the same person. In fact, 6 different people portrayed Michael in the original film. Nick Castle, Carpenter's friend, and not a professional actor, gave Michael his famous slow walk. But he was just one of the men behind the mask. Enjoying these killer facts? Slash that like button and subscribe for more. Now, let's creep into the sequel. The Night He Came Home continues. The story picks up right where the first left off, with Michael pursuing Laurie to the hospital. But if you thought Laurie looked a bit different, you're not wrong. Jamie Lee Curtis had chopped her hair short for another role, so she donned a wig for the entire film. Movie magic at its finest. Behind the mask, stuntman Dick Warlock took his role as Michael seriously, maybe too seriously. He performed his own stunts, including setting himself on fire for the film's climax. Now, that's dedication to the craft. As you watch Michael stalk the hospital halls, remember, that's a man willing to literally burn for his art. And keep your eyes peeled for a familiar face in the background. A young pre-SNL Dana Carvey makes a brief appearance. Here's a little-known fact. If you caught the TV edit of the movie, you might have seen a surprisingly happy ending. In this version, Jimmy survives and holds Laurie's hand in the ambulance, leaving fans to imagine a brighter future. But the biggest bombshell? The revelation that Laurie is actually Michael's sister. This twist would shape the franchise's mythology for years to come, giving Michael's relentless pursuit a whole new dimension. The series took a bold step away from Michael Myers, focusing instead on a sinister plot involving killer Halloween masks. But don't worry, there's still a connection to the original. If you listen closely, you might catch Jamie Lee Curtis's voice cameo as both a telephone operator and the town's curfew announcer.
We cannot complete your call as dialed. Please hang up and
As you watch, that catchy or annoying silver shamrock jingle will burrow into your brain. Fun fact, it's set to the tune of London Bridge is Falling Down. Why? It was in the public domain, making it a budget-friendly choice for our evil mask makers.
8 more days to Halloween, silver shamrock.
Did you know that this installment was actually an attempt to turn the franchise into an anthology series? Carpenter and his team envisioned each movie telling a different spooky story. But fans demanded Michael's return, and the rest, as they say, is history. The Shape returns. This time, Michael's after his niece, Jamie. As you watch young Danielle Harris scream in terror, know that her performance was so convincing, concerned neighbors actually called the police during filming. Now that's method acting. You might notice something off about Michael in this one. Is it the mask? Well, you're not wrong. Michael's mask in this movie had longer hair and a more pronounced expression compared to earlier installments. It's like The Shape got a makeover. And here's a behind-the-scenes tidbit. Screenwriter Alan McElroy wrote the script for Halloween 4 in 11 days to avoid a Writers Guild strike, keeping production on schedule. Quite impressive given the tight deadline. Jamie now has a psychic link to Michael, but is that enough to stop him? As the body count rises, keep an eye out for a surprising moment of tenderness. Believe it or not, there's a scene where Michael spares a box of kittens. Who knew The Shape was a cat person? In a surprising moment in the movie, Michael removes his mask and sheds a tear, showing vulnerability. Director Dominique Othenin-Girard included this scene to humanize Michael Myers, adding depth and making him appear more relatable. Here's an interesting fact. Rachel's death was originally planned to be much more gruesome, but actress Ellie Cornell requested a less graphic demise. It seems even Michael Myers is open to negotiation when it comes to murder. Druids, cults, and curses. Oh my. This installment tries to explain Michael's powers, but ends up leaving us with more questions than answers. As you try to untangle the plot, keep an eye out for a fresh-faced Paul Rudd in one of his first film roles. That's right, before he was Ant-Man, he was tangling with The Shape. Here's a twist worthy of the film itself. There are actually two very different versions of this movie. The theatrical cut and the producer's cut tell significantly different stories. It's like getting two movies for the price of one, if you can track down both versions, that is. And speaking of curses, the film's troubled production led to its title becoming an inside joke among the crew. They started referring to the curse of making the movie. Life imitating art or art imitating life? In Haddonfield, it's hard to tell. Michael. 20 years after the original Nightmare, Laurie Strode is back and ready to face her brother. As you watch, listen closely for a meta moment. Laurie tells his son's girlfriend to go down the street to the Beckers, a clever nod to Scream, which had itself referenced Halloween. It's like a horror movie Ouroboros.
Drive down the street to the Beckers. It's a mile down the road.
And keep your eyes peeled for a very special cameo. Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis's real-life mother and star of Psycho, appears as a secretary. She even drives the same car she drove in Hitchcock's classic. Like mother, like daughter in the Scream Queen business. Here's a behind-the-scenes drama for you. Jamie Lee Curtis actually fought for Michael to be permanently killed in this movie. She wanted closure for Laurie's story, but contractual obligations kept The Shape alive. In Hollywood, it seems, you can't keep a good boogeyman down. What happens when you mix reality TV with a slasher film? This installment attempts to answer that question. The film opens with a shocking twist. Michael tricks Laurie into thinking she's killed the wrong person, leading to her demise. It seems the Shape has picked up some tricks over the years, but that's not even the strangest part of this film. Brace yourself for the sight of Busta Rhymes Kung Fu fighting Michael Myers. Yes, you read that right. As you watch this bizarre showdown, ask yourself, is this the height of horror, or has the franchise jumped the shark? Here's a bit of what could have been trivia. A sequel called Halloween: The Missing Years was in the works after this movie, but it was scrapped when Rob Zombie took over the franchise. One can only imagine what mysteries those missing years might have revealed. Rob Zombie takes us back to Michael's childhood, asking the question, do we really want to know what made the boogeyman? Zombie's vision was to humanize Michael, showing his abusive childhood and making him a product of his environment, rather than an unstoppable force of nature. It's a far cry from Carpenter's original concept of pure, unexplained evil. As we delve into young Michael's troubled past, keep an eye out for the little details Zombie weaves in. Notice Michael's Kiss t-shirt? That's Zombie's rock background shining through. And as the camera pans through the Myers house, you might spot a portrait of JFK. It's a subtle nod to the original Halloween movie taking place in 1963, the year JFK was killed. Eagle-eyed fans might recognize a familiar face. Danielle Harris, who played Jamie Lloyd in earlier films, returns to the franchise as Annie Brackett. It's like a twisted Halloween reunion. Interestingly, Zombie initially didn't want to cast franchise veterans, but Harris lobbied hard for the role. Talk about coming full circle. Zombie's sequel goes even deeper into the psyche of both Michael and Laurie. As you watch Laurie grapple with the trauma of the previous film, you'll see a more complex exploration of the aftermath of horror. It's not just about the night he came home anymore, it's about what happens the day after and the day after that. Brace yourself for increased brutality. Zombie pulls no punches in depicting Michael's rampage. This sequel amplifies the violence even further, pushing the boundaries of what we expect from a slasher film. As the body count rises, ask yourself, is this the Michael Myers you remember, or has he evolved into something even more terrifying? In a supernatural twist, Zombie adds a new layer to Michael's psyche by showing him experiencing visions of his dead mother. It's a psychological complexity we've never seen before in The Shape. Is Michael more human than we thought, or just a different kind of monster? Forget everything you know about Halloween, except the first movie. We're back in Haddonfield, and Laurie's ready this time. As you watch, you'll see a Laurie transformed by decades of preparation. She's not just a survivor anymore, she's a warrior ready for the final battle. This return to form resonated with audiences in a big way, becoming the highest-grossing slasher film of all time, raking in over $250 million globally. It seems that even after 40 years, we still can't get enough of The Shape. Notice how Laurie has evolved from the scared babysitter to the prepared hunter. Her survivalist lifestyle shows how trauma has shaped her into a hardened warrior, ready to face Michael again. It's a far cry from the Laurie we met in 1978, isn't it? The whole town's out for Michael's blood. But can anyone really kill the boogeyman? This film ramps up the violence to new heights, breaking the franchise record for body count. That's right, it features Michael's highest number of on-screen kills in the entire series. The shape's been working out, apparently. As Michael cuts a swath through Haddonfield, you might spot some familiar faces. Characters from the 1978 original return, bringing the saga full circle. Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace are back, all grown up and ready to face their childhood boogeyman. It's like a high school reunion, but with more murder. Is this really the end of Laurie Strode's 4-decade battle with Michael Myers? As you watch their final confrontation, remember that Jamie Lee Curtis is saying goodbye to a character she's played for over 40 years. That's not just the end of a movie, it's the end of an era. The film explores how Haddonfield's trauma has festered over the years, asking a chilling question. Can a town ever truly recover from evil like Michael Myers? It focuses on themes of trauma, survival, and closure as Laurie finally confronts Michael for the last time. It's a psychological exploration as much as it is a slasher film. Craving more killer content? Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more horror franchise evolutions. The nightmare never ends!